Our personal life story shapes our relationship with life and with people around us, and this is reflected in our breathing patterns. The emotional defenses we develop manifest physically as muscle tensions and restricted breathing. An example of this is when we don't feel comfortable or safe in a certain situation and we hold our breath. That's why I like to say that breathing is where our conscious and unconscious mind meet. Hi, I'm Carla Lima, and today I will talk about the symbolism of the lungs and the diaphragm. This is the second video of the series Your Vocal Unconscious, exploring the relationship between your unconscious mind and your vocal expression. But there is no way of talking about the lungs and the diaphragm without mentioning the vital function of breathing. So let's begin with the symbolic aspects of breathing. Breathing is what keeps us on this physical plane. It starts at birth and ceases with death. It is like a second umbilical cord that allows us to live on planet Earth. Breathing is receiving vital energy, called prana in the Indian tradition or chi in the Chinese tradition. The air is a source of vital energy. I talk about this in the video Voice in the Human Energy Field. In many languages and cultures, there is a connection between breathing and life force, with being alive in the sense of our consciousness. In ancient Greek, we have the word pneuma, meaning air, breath, and also spirit, in the sense of spiritual essence, the breath of life. And we have the word psyche, meaning soul, spirit, or mind. Psyche is the animating energy of a human body, the conscious self. This life force is identified as breath. Psyche is often used to refer to the individual self or soul, while pneuma is more related to the spirit of the universe, an immaterial force that moves life. In Latin, we have spirare, spiro, and respiro, and the derived words spiritus and spiritualis. The Latin for inhalation is inspiro, and the Latin for exhalation is expiro. There is an etymological relationship between the English verb to inspire and the Latin inspirare. To feel inspired comes from this idea of breathe in. It is how the ideas from the intangible or spiritual world come to us symbolically. Exhalation in mythologies also has creative power. It gives life to things, as the allegory of God breathing the breath of life into Adam and giving him life. And exhalation is the fuel of voice. So, using our voices is a sacred act of giving life to things. It is much deeper than just using our physical apparatus in a mechanical sense, which is already beautiful in itself. When the inspiration comes to you and you use your voice to express it, you are a channel for life. Maybe this awareness helps you align even more with your beauty and worth and facilitates the opening of your voice. The symbolism of the lungs. The lungs are the organs of communication, since it is the column of air passing through the larynx that creates the sound we use to give shape to our language. They are related to the element of air. If you already have my chart with the symbolism of the structures involved in vocal production, you can see that the symbolism of communication for the lungs is in the sense of contact or exchange. If not, you can download it and follow along with this and the next videos. If we perceive the lungs as organs of contact, we will see a symbolic relationship with the skin. And in fact, for the traditional Chinese medicine, the skin is the lung's external manifestation. A lung imbalance can manifest as skin issues. The lungs and the skin are both considered organs of contact with life and interpersonal relationships. The lungs, as organs of contact, are related to the themes of contact or resistance to contact, whether we are emotionally open to breathing, to being in contact, or if there is something that makes us resist contact to protect ourselves, and freedom or restriction, in the sense of being able to open up and breathe deeply and freely, or if in some way we feel restricted in accessing the breath of life and vitality. Here, there is a symbolic meaning of breathing as taking up space, openness, and movement. The lungs, as organs of exchange, are related to the themes of receiving and giving, with breathing as a process of exchange, of communication with the external environment, and absorbing and exposing oneself, which means living isolation and integrating harmoniously with the environment through the ability to healthily absorb, filtering what exists around, and the ability to externalize oneself. All this relational dynamic is synthesized by the processes of inspiration, which represents the capacity to absorb life, to receive, and expiration, which is the capacity to expose oneself or the free expression of oneself. Therefore, the emotional conditions favorable to lungs health are a strong will to be alive, a sincere desire to interact with the environment, and the ability to maintain interpersonal relationships. That's why it is important to recognize the emotional content that arises when you practice singing or do breathing exercises. They are indicators of what's happening to you on a symbolic level. In my online course, I teach how to develop this emotional self-awareness. By taking the course, you will be guided in a practical way on how to do this and how to incorporate this practice into your routine. The symbolism of the diaphragm. The diaphragm is the regulator of breathing capacity and is the organ that sets the rhythm actually followed by the person. It is also the border between the upper and lower halves of the body that represents our objective and emotional world. As regulator of breathing capacity, the diaphragm contracts to allow space to the inspiratory air and relaxes during expiration. In this sense, the diaphragm is related to the qualities of flexibility and strength. As the main respiratory muscle, the diaphragm is considered the organ of rhythm. The heart is also an organ of rhythm, but if we consider that breathing influences the heart rate, we can symbolically classify the diaphragm as the organ of the rhythm actually followed by the person. The respiratory rhythm reflects our emotional state. For example, in a state of anxiety, breathing becomes faster and shallower. The respiratory rhythm also influences changes in our emotional state. For example, if someone feeling nervous starts breathing deeply and slowly, they will calm down. This process is called self-regulation, border between the objective and emotional world. Each segment of our body has a symbolic meaning. The diaphragm forms the border between the upper and lower halves of the body, the upper and lower worlds. The upper half of the body represents our objective world and is related to the element air. The lower half of the body represents our emotional world and is related to the element water. The diaphragm mediates both aspects. This explains the tension in the diaphragm as an unconscious defense mechanism to avoid accessing the emotional content. This brings us to our next topic: breathing, your vocal unconscious. Breathing is an involuntary act, but it can also be controlled voluntarily. This fact holds a symbolic treasure because it is a clue that breathing is where our conscious and unconscious mind meet. And here is a fundamental point about using your voice, whether singing or speaking. You don't need to think about the respiratory rhythm or the amount of air necessary to sing or speak, because your body adjusts this automatically. It seems like that because of how common breathing restrictions caused by chronic tensions are. And it is precisely here that there is a trap in vocal exercises, which, if misused, can create more disconnection from the body than promotes the integration with the body's natural wisdom. Ideally, breathing and vocal exercises should be a guide to reestablishing the connection with the body, releasing muscle tension, and facilitating the body's automatic and natural adjustment to vocal demands. When you believe that you need to consciously control your breathing and that only in this way you can adjust your body to perform well in singing or speaking, you enter a mindset of control over your body. And this is what makes you feel dependent on exercises and techniques. When this happens, you will stop focusing on the content. What's your purpose? The message you have to share, the feelings you want to convey, and start focusing on how you are performing the movement. And this stops your connection from your body and your creative flow. Doing this makes the activity heavy and tiring, a burden instead of a pleasure. In general, unconscious emotional issues present in the body as limitations in respiratory capacity as a defense mechanism to avoid confronting them. Therefore, the person tends to insist on techniques to control the body out of an unconscious fear of surrendering to the body, which necessarily involves coming into contact with repressed emotions. But there is good news. Just as repressed emotions have the potential of restrict respiratory movement, it is also the flowing emotions that facilitate the body's natural adjustment to movement. When you are connected to the content of the activity you are doing, in the case of singing, to the song, letting the emotions that the music evokes in you to flow, your body naturally adjusts the amount of air needed, the vocal positioning, and the body movements. And you can navigate this voluntarily by setting your intention. Do this regularly, and you will feel your body feeling more safe and your singing voice opening. You need to be patient and open to experiment. I know it can be scary and you can feel unsure and alone at the beginning. My online course was built to help you in this process, giving you a guide on how to do this work so you can build your routine with the exercises and practice that I offer, and also benefit from the awareness I provide there. I hope you enjoyed the content. I prepared a chart with the symbolism of the main structures involved in vocal production that you can download and follow along with this and the other videos of this series. You can check the link below. I also invite you to visit the page of my online course, Open Your Singing Voice, Practice to Overcome Trauma and Emotional Blocks, to learn more. The link is also in the description. I'd love to read your thoughts in the comments below. Like and subscribe if you haven't yet. I see you in my next video. Thank you for watching. Bye!